Welcome, people around the world. We are the Common Cast. My name is Torque. I'm here joined by my great friend.
Edge of Space.
He will be helping me with the podcast today, and we have a couple subjects to talk about based on recent events that happened, including wrestling. So let's jump right into it. Edge, what is the first topic we have?
So, on the last podcast, if you listened all the way through it, we kind of speculated at the end what the Survivor Series 5v5 tag team match could be. And my initial thoughts is it's going to be Undertaker and Kane with Roman Reigns and Dean Ambrose versus the Wyatt family, then their fifth members. That could be anyone. Really doesn't matter. But, at least for Taker's team, it's kind of debunked because Roman Reigns is now the number one contender for the WWE World Heavyweight Champion. So the question is, are we ready to see Reigns as champion?
I'm gonna start off with my opinion right now. I'm not a fan of Roman Reigns. I don't like him. I think he's just kind of bland and boring and just got too much of a push. I've warmed up to him a little bit since WrestleMania 31, but I mean he has another title shot. I mean how many? What there was Dean Ambrose and Reigns have had multiple title shots at this, and it's almost seeming like a repeating pattern anymore. So I mean I'm not thrilled about this. You could say.
Yeah, my thoughts on Roman Reigns are, I compare him to the Xbox One. You know, first hear about it, sounds really cool. Then you actually hear more about it, you realize that it's doesn't do a lot of stuff very well, so you start to hate it. Then it gets pushed to the top of the world, like, wow, look at all this stuff it does, and we're like, nah, it doesn't do that much stuff. And so we're all like, man, we're sick of it. And then eventually we just kind of get tired of hating it. And so we're just kind of like, nah, I'm impartial to it. That's kind of how I feel about Roman Reigns. It's like at the beginning he was kind of cool. Then he started talking and he's not cool anymore. Then he main evented WrestleMania and we all hated him for it. And now it's just kind of like, I've gotten tired of hating him, you know?
Yeah,
It's like, it would take too much time for me to continue hating him, so I'm just impartial to him now.
I know I would agree with that as well. But the other thing I have a problem with is that there's no. It doesn't seem like it's a rivalry when it easily should be a rivalry between Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns.
Yeah.
I mean, they were in the Shield. I know that was a long time ago, but I mean, Dean Ambrose made a rivalry out of him and Seth Rollins.
Hmm.
But I mean, there's no rivalry with Roman Reigns. He's just. It's almost like he's John Cena in a way. Like, oh, I respect you. No, you shouldn't respect him. He stabbed you in the back.
Yeah. It's like they tried to build up the feud between Reigns and Rollins last year during, like, at Night of Champions, but then fate played its hand and Roman Reigns got a hernia, so he was out for pretty much the remainder of the year. So their chances to build a Reigns-Rollins feud kind of fell flat. So instead they continued with the Dean Ambrose and Rollins feud, and that just took off. That was fantastic. So now they're trying to pick up the pace with Reigns and Rollins, but there's just no momentum there because they haven't done any building for it. I mean, yeah, he was in the Fatal 4-Way at Payback with Rollins, but that's about it.
And I don't know. Just going specifically on Roman Reigns, there's no personality there. You know, I mean, he is still the Shield. He's like some ex-boyfriend that can't let go of his girlfriend. Like he cannot let go of the Shield. He still
Yeah,
wears this Shield outfit and he has the Shield theme song, and comes from the same place as the Shield. I mean, I just think he should have gotten a personality as more of a Samoan badass. Maybe I mean I don't know where I'd go with him. I
yeah.
mean with him
I
and
mean,
his duckbill lip, you know. I mean, it, he looks awkward, you know.
yeah, he looks really stiff in a lot of the stuff that he does. But the one thing is that I don't like the body armor. But the thing is that if you ever see Roman Reigns without a shirt on, you just kind of think he just looks like an Uso.
Well,
So
yeah.
so it's kind of like I don't like the body armor, but it's better than the alternative in my opinion.
It is. I mean, I would have put him. I like him better in like a t-shirt, you know. It's just.
Yeah.
I mean, it's better than the alternative, but he could have such a more intriguing gimmick on stage that could work. And I mean, obviously we've heard that Roman Reigns is a pretty funny guy off stage. Well,
Yeah.
none of that clearly none of that resembles on stage because I mean he's had his share of quite shitty promos. Obviously, I mean he talked about Big Show as the Giant, as Jack and the Beanstalk, at one point.
And then he called Seth Rollins a squandering succotash something or other. I
Yeah,
couldn't even I couldn't even begin to replicate what it is. It was like a squandering, suffering succotash, son. Yeah,
but
it was bad.
I
It was
mean
very
his
bad.
promos are still bad. They're not as bad, but they're still just not interesting. They're not like his. I don't like them. And I mean, I feel like if you're on the main roster, you should be able to deliver a good promo, whether it's funny, whether it's serious, whether it's dark. You know, it should be a good promo.
Yeah. Um. So as far as him like winning the championship, if and I have a big if here, if they go with the Roman Reigns is the same character that he is, and Seth Rollins is the same character that he is after Survivor Series, no, I would not be okay with Reigns winning the championship.
No, I Reigns is gonna. I don't. So here's what I see. I'm seeing a Dean Ambrose heel turn,
Yeah,
unfortunately. And
yeah, it.
I don't want Dean Ambrose to turn heel. I want Roman Reigns to turn heel.
Hmm.
Because I feel if Roman Reigns turns heel and then wins the championship, that sets up a perfect triple threat between the Shield. It's
Yeah,
almost like it'll almost be like WrestleMania 30 with Daniel Bryan in a triple threat against Randy Orton Batista. Clearly, Daniel Bryan was the underdog. I mean, he hasn't won a lot, you know, and Dean Ambrose has not won at all, almost. And
yeah,
if he goes into that triple threat, Dean Ambrose is clearly the underdog, and you could have a great WrestleMania main event right there.
yeah. But so like for this match, Reigns and Rollins, if Rollins keeps the title, I see it happening because Ambrose turns heel and betrays Reigns. That's how I see Rollins retaining the title, which I don't necessarily want because that doesn't put us in a better situation than we were in before. But let's say, hypothetically speaking, I don't know if that's a word to use here, Rollins and Reigns. Um, Reigns wins the title, but due to interference from Triple H. Think about it, like Triple H is thinking, yeah, Rollins is kind of he's not cutting it as well as I thought he would. So maybe I should go with this other guy who is winning matches, is real powerhouse, and really dumb, so I can tell him to do whatever I want him to do, which is exactly what Triple H would want. So what if Triple H interfered, screws Rollins, and then you have the double turn? Rollins turns face right there, and Reigns turns heel.
I would like that very much, actually. I mean, I gotta explain how I would like that because I feel like that's so perfect, but it sets more of a. It sets up Rollins and Triple H having a match at WrestleMania. And
Hmm.
then that also, actually, no, that's even better because then that could set up a Roman Reigns versus Dean Ambrose at WrestleMania, which would, in my opinion, would be a good match because they have chemistry. Just it's when it's just when Roman Reigns talks on screen is when there's a problem. I mean,
Yeah.
so I feel like they could put on a great match like he did with Ambrose did with Rollins, and I feel like he could do that with Reigns, and it would it would be a good match.
Hmm. So, in that regard, if that were to happen, I would be fine with Reigns being champion. Uh, what about you? In that
Um,
regard, would you be fine? But
in that
since,
regard, I would be fine. I wouldn't be fine if they just kind of stayed as the same character and Reigns still went on as a face. with the championship, I wouldn't be fine with that.
Hmm. So, yeah, Reigns is the number one contender. Yippee! Maybe. I don't know. Please, Vince. Please don't screw this up.
Yeah, somehow. All right. Well, I think that just about wraps it up for why we want how we would want Reigns as a champion. Uh, yeah. So let's talk about the next thing.
So this week, WWE 2K16 came out, and it had a lot to improve upon. Of course, then again, it's not hard to improve upon garbage, and 2K15 was garbage. My general consensus, it's okay. Like, it's better than 2K15, but I still think 2K14 is the better wrestling game out of the three.
I'm gonna say I'm a little disappointed.
Yeah.
I'm not phenomenal about it. It's I don't know, like there's a lot less character options, you know,
Yeah.
like clothing wise. I thought there would be a lot more, and and it didn't make sense. And even Edge here, his name is Tyler Hawk in the game, and they didn't have the word Hawk,
Yeah.
which is a little irritating. Just like they know someone used that name at some point.
Which I'm not sure what gameplay is going to be playing in the background, but you'll probably see our created characters probably right about now, and you'll see that I have to stick with the character Tyler Walker because they don't have Hawk, and it frustrates me. They don't even have the Hawk tattoo anymore. Because I used to put the Hawk tattoo on my character's back in 2K14, and that's kind of how the name came around, but they don't have that tattoo anymore. So I'm like, well, shoot, what am I supposed to do?
And then I found reversing very difficult. Having to reverse a move.
Yeah.
I found that difficult for some reason. Like, it wasn't like, I get that it should be a little hard, but 2K14 was hard, but yet you could do it and you knew you missed or something.
Yeah.
Whereas
My issue with the reversals, and I don't mean to cut you off for too long, is not so much how the reversals are performed. It's the fact that you have a limited number of them. It's like in 2K15 when they rehauled the wrestling and added the stamina bar, that alone was good enough resource management to watch how much you're reversing, because reversals cost stamina. So if you're at the end of your stamina bar and you go to reverse, you're not going to be able to because you're out of stamina. So that was enough resource management as it was. Then they add this extra layer. Now not only reversals take up stamina, but you get a limited number of them that recharges over time.
And then, yeah, that also has to do with the other problem I have is signatures and finishers. You have to wait until it lets you do a finisher, which I don't really like, because I'll hit my signature and then I'll throw him in the corner getting ready for my finisher, but I can't do my finisher because for some reason it won't let me.
Yeah, because your stamina probably ran out.
Yeah, and I don't get that. And also, I sprint. I like sprinting and pressing buttons. I don't do it all the time, but I like doing it. But I can never sprint because I'm always out of it because I use it somehow by the time I really need it.
Yeah, I felt that 2K15, and this is kind of odd that I'm saying this because I never thought I would say this, is that 2K15 probably did the wrestling mechanics a little bit better than 2K16 does, but the overall presentation of 2K16 is leaps and bounds better than 2K15. There's no loading screens between entrances anymore. That's just a minor little touch, but that really adds a lot to just the entrances that people would usually skip. But now it's I feel like I'm watching a real match because there's no loading screen. So I'm going to watch the whole thing.
There are things I like about it. I mean, the physics in the game are really good. Like, seeing Finn Balor's hair sway. I mean, the physics are really good, and I do like a lot of things, but overall, it's just kind of like I was expecting it to be better than 2K14 almost.
Yeah, we were expecting 2K14 or better, and we kind of got um, and we got better than 2K15 instead.
Yeah, I mean, and plus there's like 10 songs playing in the background.
Yeah.
I don't think there's more than 10.
I feel like I'm in the minority when I say I liked it when they played Superstar's entrance music in the background.
I liked it too, but it kind of it when it repeated, I felt like I heard the same Superstars music, you know.
Yeah.
And this song and this 2K16, I think they took like the Guitar Hero 3 playlist. I'm just saying. I definitely think that, and they took like 10 songs and put it on there, and then because I can't say how many times I've sang to Youth Gone Wild over and over because I hear it so much.
Yeah. So 2K16 out of 10, what would you give it?
Probably like a 6.5.
A 6.5. Really?
Maybe a 7. I'd give it a 7 out of 10. It did okay.
I'd say that I give it the awkward rating that I don't usually give, because like 7 is considered average for me, 8 is above average. So it's kind of like in the 7.8 territory, where it's like, yeah, it's better, it's above average, but it's not like, it isn't the second coming of Christ, okay? It's not that good.
Yeah. Yeah, not quite, no.
Yeah, so I guess the average between the two of us, it would bring it to like a 7.5 or like a 7.4-ish.
Yeah, somewhere around there. They did good, but not fantastic.
Yeah, it's like they added nice touches, but it doesn't have the content that 2K14 had.
Yeah, so overall, probably 7.5 out of 10. I think that about wraps it up for 2K16. I mean,
But
I'm still playing my career. I mean, I
yeah,
still play it, but it's pretty good.
I started it, but I've been playing 2K Showcase. I mean, I guess one thing that I do want to say is that when I say light on content, I'm talking about like the creation suite. You can say there's 120 wrestlers in the game. Thank God then we have Bam Bam Bigelow. What would we ever have done without Bam Bam Bigelow?
The world may never know.
Okay, so that's our thoughts on 2K16. Next, I want to ask your opinion of something. And this will segue right into our next topic. Is that there was a certain NXT superstar that was kind of considered not very good to the both of us in the last podcast that we talked about him. And we said if he went up to the main roster, he could never main event a pay-per-view. And there may be people out there who disagree with us, but I think we were dead on because Tyler Breeze debuted on SmackDown. What do you think?
I think he debuted on SmackDown because WWE is trying to bring something to SmackDown. Regardless of that, Tyler Breeze, I mean, I'd hate to say it, but there's, like, I'm going to say most of the audience, probably the ones that aren't in the front row, don't know what NXT is.
Yeah.
And Tyler Breeze is a great wrestler, and I like him. It's just, his gimmick is just over the top.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with his gimmick, but it couldn't go on the main roster, and I still don't think it could. And I love Tyler Breeze, but now he's gonna start feuding with Dolph Ziggler, and like, do you really think Breeze will beat Dolph Ziggler? Like,
yeah, it's like they're putting this nobody knows him wrestler from NXT up against Dolph Ziggler, who gets a pop almost every time that he enters. It's like, you want to talk about setting someone up to fail. They're setting Tyler Breeze up to fail hard.
not to mention that he is now in a relationship with Summer Rae,
which
let's admit never goes good for anyone.
Yeah, it's a career killer. Just ask Fandango.
I mean, I don't know why they said, "Oh, this is a good idea," but I hope Tyler Breeze can somehow pull it out of him to where the audience really hates him or really likes him to get enough of a reaction. Because when he debuted, there wasn't much of a reaction, as much as I'd hate to say. There was a slight NXT chant for a while from some people in the front row, but I'm really hoping that like they're not going based on reactions for Tyler Breeze.
Oh, they probably are. And
I know they probably are, but it's I'm hoping with like the 0.01% chance that Vince will pull it out of his ass, and God help us.
just remember that Vince McMahon is the same guy who heard a bunch of ECW chants and said, "I need to get this under control." So he rebranded ECW in like 2006 or something, and basically killed it. He's like, "You want to chant ECW? Fine, chant for this shitty ECW. I mean, that's what you're chanting for, right?" Like this is the same guy who did that. So, gosh, it's just I can't help but fear that Tyler Breeze is just a forever mid-carder. Like, he's never... I can't see him ever holding a championship. I can't.
I can't see it either. As much as I'd hate to say, I can't see him going against. Well, I can see him going against Kevin Owens, but I don't see him winning.
Yeah.
Definitely not against Alberto Del Rio.
Yeah, he would not win against Alberto Del Rio.
I could see it
at all.
I could see it against Seth Rollins, but it can't be the selfie gimmick.
Yeah, like their styles, Tyler Breeze and Seth Rollins, like their styles would merge really well together. I'm not gonna deny that at all. The thing is that you have the cheating heel versus the cheating heel currently at the moment.
Yeah, I know. It's damn. I'm so scared. I'm so scared for Tyler Breeze, and I hope because he's a great wrestler. I hope he can like at least he doesn't need. I mean, nobody needs a championship to be considered one of the best.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that he can build himself like that. Like,
Yeah, it's like
kind of like Ziggler. Like Ziggler's held championships, but he doesn't need to hold those anymore for us to like him and know that he could beat. I think Ziggler could beat Seth Rollins right now, maybe. Going on
in fact,
based.
If they want to continue the Seth Rollins holding the title, I feel like putting him against Dolph Ziggler would be fine, because Dolph Ziggler is one of those guys who, hey, they're going to put on a good match, and if he wins, great. We win. Ziggler has a championship. But if he doesn't, it's like, well, it was a good match anyways, because those two are great.
Yeah, I mean...
So, Tyler Breeze...
I'm hoping... So, what I'm hoping they're doing with SmackDown is starting to do what they had, where SmackDown was its own show and Raw was its own show. I'm not saying completely do it. I mean, you can still have the people who are on Raw on SmackDown as well. But I'm hoping it'll start becoming its own show, and Tyler Breeze would fit that, in my opinion. Yeah. He would fit SmackDown. I mean, SmackDown's pretty shitty, so I feel like Tyler Breeze is a stepping stone to making SmackDown great again. And I feel he could do that if he stays on SmackDown and starts like feuding with Ziggler on SmackDown only.
It's like, I really hope, and this will kind of segue into what we're going to talk about, is that I hope that they just kind of subtly start calling the WWE World Heavyweight Championship just the WWE Championship again, and then they reinstate the World Heavyweight belt and split up the shows. Because they easily have enough superstars that they could do two separate brands and make it good. Like, think about Cesaro on SmackDown instead of Raw. So he's not competing with like Cena or Lesnar or Rollins. He would be at the top of his brand because he's the Swiss Superman. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get that, and I think that would totally, like, if he went to SmackDown, he would be top of the SmackDown. And I mean, that's what Daniel Bryan said when, because on Table for Three, he was with Dean Ambrose.
He was with Ryback and Dolph Ziggler, which was a really odd pairing, but that's besides the point.
Anyway, but when he won the IC title, obviously he didn't stay around for long because, go figure, he got injured.
Again.
But he wanted to keep the IC title on SmackDown to give SmackDown, give people a reason to watch SmackDown, and that
Yeah.
would be absolutely perfect. Have the U.S. I like that, splitting up the championships on Monday Night Raw and Thursday Night SmackDown, and giving both shows credibility to watch. And I
Yeah.
wish, and everyone loves Daniel Bryan, so everyone's going to tune in to SmackDown. However, people are still going to tune into Raw because of the big championship, the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. What a mouthful. Anyway, people are still going to tune into that because they want to know who's going to be at the top next.
Yeah. In fact, that's kind of how it used to be. Like, it used to be the IC belt was on SmackDown and the World Heavyweight belt was on SmackDown, and the WWE Championship and the United States Championship were on Raw. But then they decided to merge the belts and kill the United States title. So it just it was a mess. It is a mess. It is still a mess.
I think what they should do is, so when CM Punk left the company for 8 days with a championship, I want something like that to happen again, where someone wins it and then leaves, but they actually leave. So then that would give an excuse to reinstate the World Heavyweight Championship belt, because it would be kind of awkward if Seth Rollins came out on Monday Night Raw one time and he had 2 belts.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, they don't even have to, have him walk out with 2 belts. They just have to start calling the WWE World Heavyweight Championship just the WWE Championship. Because, yeah, it says Heavyweight Championship on the belt, but every WWF and WWE title has said that. It said Heavyweight Champion. So that's not as odd as it would sound.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm hoping, plus something else. It was at Comic-Con. Someone was interviewing Jerry the King Lawler, and he was saying how SmackDown was probably going to move to the USA Network and also be a live show. So I'm thinking somewhere someone has plans for SmackDown to make it better.
Mm-hmm.
And I can sort of see that developing too. I mean, I've also noticed that John Cena is not on SmackDown. He's only on Monday Night Raw.
To those of you, he's a hard worker, don't get me wrong, but to those of you who say he's there night after night, he hasn't been on SmackDown. He is not there night after night, so don't try to shove that shit down my throat.
Yeah, and whereas Rollins is there night after night, same with Kevin Owens, my favorite. Anyway, I think there's plans for SmackDown, and I can slowly see it developing, because whereas Tyler Breeze has made an appearance on Raw, I mean, his main stuff has been on SmackDown. He debuted on SmackDown, and then watched Ziggler wrestle on SmackDown. I think the only thing he did on Raw was beat up Ziggler.
He watched Ziggler in his match for, the #1 contendership. He watched Ziggler, and this is going to be confusing, so bear with me. He watched Ziggler compete in a match that if he won that match, he would go on to another match to compete for the #1 contendership, where if he would have won that, he would go on to face Seth Rollins. Yeah.
Interesting.
But no, he watched, Breeze watched Ziggler in that first match. That's pretty much all he's done on Raw, though.
But still, his main stuff has been on SmackDown, so I can slowly see SmackDown developing something.
Yeah, it was... Well, I guess you could say it was technically, it could have been 2002-ish, all the way to 2008, something like that. I'm trying to think when exactly they started, mixing superstars across brands, because they kind of had this back and forth thing with Cena winning both the WWE title and the World Heavyweight Championship, throughout 2013. Then they unified the belts, and then it really got confusing, and now we're in the situation we're in now.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's trying to break it back up, but I don't want it just to be a repeat of Raw vs. SmackDown. I don't want it to be a repeat of that. Whereas it might be good, it's just I don't want to have to repeat history just for us to watch it, you know?
Yeah, like I would be fine with another brand split if they really stuck to their guns on it being a brand split, you know? Like they have pay-per-views that are brought to you by Raw, brought to you by SmackDown is what they used to do, but you have like pay-per-views be the spot where the superstars come together. Like in the Royal Rumble, it used to be 15 superstars from Raw and 15 superstars from SmackDown. That's how the Royal Rumble used to be. And they had several Survivor Series matches, I think, where it was SmackDown versus Raw. That I would be fine with. But outside of that, for their weekly shows and like their title matches, keep it separate. Like don't intermingle the two of them. Like that's the purpose of a brand split, is that you keep it separate.
I mean, something big is kind of keep it simple. You know,
Yeah.
I mean that's kind of the whole reason WWE is falling the way it is.
Mhm.
It's they just need to start keeping it simple. Whereas this is a rivalry, this is why they're wrestling, and it should be more about the wrestling. So
Yeah.
I mean, if SmackDown does that, then SmackDown might be the show we watch instead of Raw eventually.
hmm Which, speaking of Raw, I don't mean to detract too far from this, but I actually get to go to Raw this week. So that's going to be fun. I mean, by the time the viewers are listening to this, I will have already gone. But at the time of recording this, it's this Monday that I get to go to SmackDown. Or not SmackDown, Raw. What the hell? I'm like, now I'm getting the brands confused myself.
Oh man,
Yeah, so that's going to be fun. I get to hear a Roman Reigns promo. Yippee.
wow, that'll electrify the crowd. Where are you sitting?
Um, it's kind of like I don't really know how best to describe it. I mean, if you're super curious
Okay,
and like you really want to know, if you look up the Pepsi Center in Denver, Colorado, it's section 116. It's kind of like
Are
I'm
you
looking.
facing the camera?
No, I'm not facing the camera. I'm just off to the right of it though. Like
Okay.
if I look straight forward, I can see the Titantron and the ramp like just straight in front of me.
Nice, those are good seats.
Yeah. So yeah, that's going to be fun.
Yeah, we love wrestling,
Yes.
and it
And
needs to get
that's
better.
all the stuff I had written down. I mean, is there anything else pressing that you want to mention?
I think that just about wraps it up for this podcast. Is there anything
All right.
else?
No, but you guys can leave a comment telling us if you're ready for Reigns as champion. I mean, there's going to be some heated topics on either side. And also, do you think there should be another brand split? Tell us why in the comments. And if you feel that SmackDown has a chance of coming back as a good competitor for Raw, feel free to tell us why you believe that as well. We hope it does, because SmackDown is really not worth watching at the point, because nothing happens on it.
Also, give your opinion on Tyler Breeze. What do you think of him? Do you think he could get over? I mean, obviously we don't, but I mean, we hope so. I mean, give us why you think he could get over. I mean, we'll take any hope there is for him.
Any. And also, if you have any thoughts on 2K16, you know what? Just leave whatever comments you have about this podcast in the comments, and we will get to them. We will read them. I will. I
All right,
promise.
leave
Because
your
I love
comments,
you.
everybody. Subscribe to the channel for more podcasts and pipe bombs and 1v1s. Like, comment, subscribe. Me and Edge are gonna ride off into the sunset, and we will see you on the next Comic Cast. So we will see you later. That was fucking stupid.